What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at Insanity Sample's newest library called Neo Strings. So Billy from from Insanity Samples reached out to me a little while ago and told me about this new library he was working on called Neo Solo Strings, and I was quite interested. When anytime a new string library comes out, I think all of us are like, oh, a new string library, okay, what's that all about? So I said yes, and he sent me, this library. So big thank you to you, Billy, for sending this through. Really do appreciate it. And I thought we'd go through and explore the library a little bit together. I've had a little bit of a playthrough through the patches. And right off the bat, what I can say is I think this library really stands out for its unique articulation set. Also, it's kind of raw and almost nasally tone in a way. And it's not going to appeal to everybody, but for the people who kind of write music that's a little more out there in a way that you could write it for like atonal music, you could write music that's maybe not so romantic, that's so settled in like the classical vein, then this library might be a really interesting pick for you. Because the sonic signature of it is a little bit drier, it's a little more upfront, it's a little more woody in a way. So you'll see what I mean when we start playing through some of these samples. So in terms of the folder structure, you can see it comes with, each of the 4 solo instruments: violin, viola, cello, double bass, and then we also have the same instruments but with extended techniques and effects. So this is where you can really take the library to another level and use those in your film scores or your tracks by adding some interesting textures in there that you might not necessarily have in other libraries. So anyway, let's go through. I won't really say much. I will just play through the sounds and then we can talk about it at the very end. So here is the violin one, or the violin with the true legato. And you'll notice the legato isn't necessarily as slurred or as necessarily smooth as like something like CSSS, which is my favorite solo strings library. But if you do play really lightly, you can access a portamento, so it's like more of a slide there. But generally, the sound here is more raw and more gritty to me. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so just a couple things to note here. First of all, the tremolo is really interesting. It starts off with this nice meaty attack, and then it starts to do the tremolo. Another thing I noticed is that the expressive vibrato and the sustains in general basically start with a nice swell into the note, and then it's not looped, I believe. So once you hold a note for a certain length of time, it kind of fades away. That reminds me of the Berlin Woodwinds Expansion B library, where they did not record the sustains as loops. They basically asked the performer to play a note until they saw fit to end the note, and then that's what I think is applied here as well. You get the standard, like, 3 different types of short notes: staccato, staccatissimo, and spiccato, which is basically like bouncing the bow off the string, pizzicato, plucking the string. And then it's nice that we have the option to turn off vibrato as well. You can just map any of these to mod wheel or any other control that you like. But by default, the expression is pushed all the way up. And then you have a couple of microphone options as well. So mid mic, overhead, and distant mic. I just left it on for default here, but if you want a really in-depth walkthrough of the library, definitely check out Insanity Samples' YouTube channel, and he has several videos going into the library. Let's take a look at the viola. We won't go through every single articulation here, but just some of the main ones here. You also notice the loop point there where they do the rebow. I shouldn't say the loop point, but you can hear the rebow happening there. Yeah, the tremolo seems to be a looped sustain, so that's nice to have that option for sure. But yeah, some of these other ones, like the trills, those were not looped. So yeah, you just kind of have to play through and see what sounds good. But yeah, overall the sonic signature so far, in like my opinion, is more nasal. It's a little more woody. It's more upfront, and it's definitely going to cut through a mix without any problems. And I think this library was designed specifically for that type of string quartet writing, where the parts are interweaving with each other, and they have really no problem interacting with one another in a beautiful way. But for like exposed, really romantic lines, I don't think this library is really your best bet. I would still turn to something like CSSS for that personally. So yeah, it's just a different vision for this library overall. Let's go to the double bass, and then we'll take a look at some of those extended techniques. All right, let's get into some of these extended techniques here. So here we have harmonics in the violin. little bit of tail there, a little bit of reverb. But yeah, these are articulations you're not going to hear in a regular library, with the exception of maybe like the harmonics and the saltasto. But other than that, these are really, really unique. And those bridge effects, like, you can't really replicate those with samples very well. Sorry, with with other means, they have to be recorded as samples. So I think they're pretty consistent for all these sections. Yes, so they all kind of have the same type of thing. Violas. And you do hear the rebos in there as well. I think a really cool feature for this library would be like an infinite bow option, kind of like how the Tina Guo libraries have that option, so you don't actually hear the rebow, because sometimes the rebow can trigger in the wrong part of the bar, so you end up having to shift the sample around and start it maybe earlier or later than you'd like. So having that option is always really nice. Cello. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones there so far. Just it's so hard to replicate that with with scripted stuff, like scripted vibrato. You kind of have to record that, like it starts kind of without vibrato, but then it kind of comes in really heavily and kind of fades away and that type of thing. So that's super interesting. And then finally the double bass. Okay, so you get the idea. A very unique, very interesting string library that really doesn't, there's really nothing else like it on the market today. Maybe there are some textural solo string libraries that I don't really know about, but as far as, unique articulations and sound goes, there's really nothing quite like this, especially these extended techniques and effects. For solo, for the regular articulations like true legato, staccatos, these are all perfectly serviceable. Particularly the short notes and the tremolos. One of the strengths of this library, I think, is the fact that there's so much character in every single sample. But it is a very niche product in terms of like the styles of music it could do very well in, I think. So for me personally, for my style of music, I might not use this library as much. I might use it occasionally to beef up, like maybe as a layering tool for some short notes, or maybe if I want some more clarity in certain samples, then I might layer this in with my current samples like CSS or Vista or something. But for everyday work, this wouldn't be the first library I turn to, just because it's not really the style that I see myself writing with this library. But you might totally think that this is the library for you if you write more aleatoric and atonal music, or solo string music with more interesting effects. That's just not something I personally do very much, but you might absolutely do that. So related to that, I would love to know if this is something that you would see yourself interested in. this Neo string library, it definitely lived up to its name. It's definitely a new string library with some really interesting articulation. So would you see yourself using this library, and in what type of context? Do you like the sound? Do you kind of like the different articulations it comes with, the overall playability? I mean, that you kind of have to try for yourself, but I can say it does feel pretty nice under the fingers. So yeah, let me know if this is something you would consider for your style of music. And hey, if you don't have it already, please feel free to download my Sample Library Buyer's Guide. It's basically just an in-depth look at the sample libraries that I personally use on a daily basis, that I use for my daily work. Because I get so many questions all the time asking, you know, what libraries do you use here or here? What is that harp sound? What's that string sound? So everything is condensed into this PDF guide. It's absolutely free, but it's the first link in the description box below. So feel free to download that, and it's my gift to you for watching this video. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Billy from Insanity Samples, for sending me this library. I do appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the very next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.